Welcome, friends and family, to another episode of the Backdoor Cut Show, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast brought to you by the Barnburner Podcast Network, which you can find on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those cool places. You can find me on Twitter at BarnburnerBro. Thanks to everyone who's following along with us on the Barnburner Twitter account on Periscope, as we're live right now at _Barnburner. I have with me today Sam and Mason. Sam, how are you? Where can everyone find you on Twitter?
They can find me at the Barn Chief. I am good. It's snowing outside right now. A beautiful flurry snowstorm coming down in downtown Memphis, creating a great ambiance for this podcast. Trade day. We didn't honestly expect as much to happen as did, or maybe we didn't. It was a busy trade day. The Grizzlies are busy for the first time in a long time. And again, we three are here. We have not been salary dumped, so we are still with the Barn Burner, which is great to know. I know. We made it past. So shouts to the team and shouts to the front office, but I'm sure we'll get into it. Mason, what's going on, man?
Oh, man, I'm overjoyous. A good trade deadline for the Grizz, coming off a big win against the Mavericks on Wednesday night. Tigers got a win Wednesday as well. Things are good in Grind City. Ready to talk about these moves that were made across the NBA, and I'm really ready for Twitter Corner, guys. The Twitter machine has had me hyped these past couple of nights, man. So
Twitter's the fucking best, dude.
I'm just here for Twitter Corner today.
Yeah.
There's a meme. I'm just here for something. I'm trying to remember what that is.
So you don't get fined. Marshawn
That's
Lynch.
it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mason's just here for the Twitter Corner.
That's
All right, guys. So we can start with the block. I don't know if you'd call it a blockbuster, but as far as the Grizzlies this week, the biggest trade that we've all really been anticipating, trying to gauge what would happen. And I don't know if it is exactly what we thought would happen. I think three guys that we had the highest probability of leaving the roster and not surviving trade deadline for the Grizzlies, that being Andre Iguodala, Jay Crowder, Han Solo. I'm just kidding. Solomon Hill. I just have Solo up here, so I don't know. So those three guys.
when you make a Star Wars joke on
a lot happened today, man. So yeah, those three guys all left, but in one transaction to Miami for Justice Winslow, James Johnson, and Dion Waiters, all coming back with their bajillion dollars back to the Grizzlies. How do we feel about that? I know initially everyone was gauging kind of what draft picks, draft assets we would get for Iguodala. At least I was. That's where my head was, thinking further into the future. But obviously the front office thinks that Winslow can be a piece that can immediately be added to this young core that we have. Him being only 23 years old, that he can just be a plug-and-play guy for the Grizzlies and play multiple positions and be a very helpful piece.
Yeah, I think that we need to work on our transitions, man. Like,
I'm not talking the whole time.
NBA countdown, it wouldn't be good. The three things that Harrington pointed out, which I mean, he kind of summed it up as better as anyone can, which is usually what he does. But add another young talent to the team, which we see in Justice. Punt on free agency for 2020. That we've seen the Grizzlies now take on money that will go through next season. That will soak up that cap space that we would have had to attract a quote unquote big time free agent in 2020. Now that money will open up on the books in 2021 because of Dion Waiters and now Gorgie Dang's contract. So those two are kind of the first two things, and then the position the team. The implicit understanding there is that ultimately the team's going to make a move in 2021. Now, whether that be via trade, the expiring contracts of Gorgie Dang, or Dion Waiters will waived at that point, or in free agency. Now, trade, of course, being more likely. We've never seen this team attract a free agent, a big time free agent. So I imagine we'll have to pull a move, kind of like Toronto did, where we trade all these picks that we have and a couple other things to get a guy on the last 2 years or so of his deal and hope to re-sign him, that he loves playing with his young core. But we do have a couple things going for us, and their names are John Morant and Jared Jackson, two things that we've never had to date. This franchise has never had guys that people want to come play with, and it seems like what we have right now in this particular team is with these guys really like each other, man. Like we said that over and over again, but this team's having fun. They've got the whole Grizz Next Gen thing that they like. They actually like. They like that hashtag. Now they got the emoji of the guy with the X. Like they legitimately created an identity, and they seem to all be like legitimate friends. So it's a really good environment. It's a really good culture. All from the beginning, they love the coach. Like you saw them all tweeting him congratulations after he won Coach of the Month. It's a very positive atmosphere. So the moves made today completely further the sustainable success that Zach Kleiman and Jason Wexler, our new front office gurus, set out to begin with. They gave their State of the Union address at the beginning of taking over. So that's kind of my take on it. I think it was an excellent day. And what else did I miss, Mason?
Yeah, so just to recap, going out, we had on the entire day, we had Iggy, Jay Crowder, Solomon Hill. We also had Bruno Caboclo traded. And then on bringing in, we brought in Justice Winslow and Dion Waiters, who is expected to be waived or bought out. And then we have Gorgie Jang and Jordan Bell. So just a couple things roster-wise, I think we shored up some of our deficiencies with our front court. Now Valanciunas has a legit backup in Gorgie Jang, and Jordan Bell is another guy who can fill in at either power forward or center, depending on who's sitting out with injuries or whatever. And he's an NBA champion, a third-year guy, NBA champion, who we have for $1.6 million this year, and then he comes off the books. Jang, like you mentioned, his contract going into next year, he's our highest paid player. Next year he'll make $17 million, but also that's an opportunity, just like Jay and Solo were, and Iggy in expiring contracts. So whether that's part of a sign and trade or someone trying to get off a player who's not going to re-sign, he could have value, and he can contribute on the floor as well. The only dead money is Dion Waiters, who, as much as I want to be on Waiters Island, it's hard to stick up for kind of the missteps he's had off the court. Given his age, this isn't, a 21-year-old Josh Jackson. This is a guy who's been around the block and still somehow eats an edible on the plane and gets too high. Inexcusable, Dion. You got to do better. Once you get past like 22, that's not an excuse. But I am of the belief that Iguodala, whether it was because his bitch ass was saying he wasn't going to report to teams to hurt his trade value, or because he's just older and kind of washed up, which apparently is not the case because Miami extended him. I didn't think we were going to get a first-round pick for him, and I was really skeptical about really getting any value. I was assuming just a second-round pick. So when I look at getting rid of him, I'm okay with the value we got in. We'll say he's 1/3 of Justice Winslow. Jay Crowder, again, I thought maybe a second-round pick and equal salary. Someone who needed a wing and was going to give us a big. So that's 2 second-round picks is what I was anticipating for Iggy and Jay and Solo. I don't think we were anticipating to get anything from. So when I look at the return on that in Justice Winslow, who is a freaking fifth-year pro and turns 24 next month, can play every position from point guard to power forward probably. I mean, if we're playing the Rockets, he can guard PJ Tucker at center. So
not on his stilts, man.
Did you see the Bleacher Report Monstars meme?
Yeah,
today?
Anthony Davis. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. So just looking at it from a prism of what I expected to get, and then we get an opportunity with Justice Winslow, who we can all admit his health is a concern. He comes to us with a back injury, which the Grizzlies are labeling as similar to what DeAnthony Melton had in training camp and then throughout the preseason, which kept him out about 2 months. Doesn't seem like that is the same train of thought the Miami Heat have on his medicals. An article I read in The Athletic, I believe it was, said that they were nervous about him passing medicals for the trade to go through. So there is some concern there. He's only played 11 games this year, but I think the opportunity he provides you to be a decent player. We don't need him to be great for this trade to work out. We're looking for solid talent to fill around Ja and Jaren. We've got our two cornerstones. We are looking for that third star, and could it be Dylan Brooks, who we extended Wednesday evening on a very friendly,
awesome, incredible deal there.
Yeah, 3 years, $35 million deal. So whether it's him, whether it's Justice, whether it's Valanciunas, whether it's Brandon Clark, if none of those guys are the third superstar, they're all quality NBA players. So I don't think we're needing Justice to come in and necessarily be like the third star. He just needs to be a competent role player who can maybe be above that every now and then, and I think he'll help this team. So I'm not of the belief that if he's not great, then this trade wasn't worth it, because I don't think the three guys, when it comes to asset wise that we sent out, I don't think they were worth more trading them separately or anything like that than bringing Justice Winslow. And to address the Waiters money and the Gorgie Jang money, the free agents this summer who we're missing out on by taking on this salary, Brandon Ingram, he's restricted. Probably not going to get him. New Orleans would be a fool to let him go, and every other team is going to be throwing an offer sheet at him who has the availability. Bogdanovich in Sacramento, the Kings just made a move to ensure that they can pay him this summer and they can match any deal. And the Timberwolves just traded for Malik Beasley. I think that was probably all of our top three on the wish list. And just it seems it would be foolish to think that you have a legit chance at signing them, I think. If you did happen to, kudos to you, but I don't think you can rely on that going into this summer. And then the unrestricted guy is Joe Harris. And I mean, I saw him stink it up enough for Team USA that I don't think he's the answer as the third star. So Justice Winslow is only making $13 million over the next couple of years. And then he has a team option in 21-22. So it still leaves some flexibility and also a trade asset to maybe trade for that third star in a sign and trade with the Bucks for Giannis in 21.
Yeah, I love that, Giannis. That's my dream too. I always speak it into existence, as Verno says. The thing I've seen it phrased, which I love about Justice, is it's kind of like Justice is kind of the best possible guy we could have thought to get in 2020. Only we got him through trade. We got him through. Yeah. You can consider his deal going forward as a 3-year or 2-year, third-year team option from the summer of 2020 onwards. 2 years at $13 million a year and then a team option. So it's basically like signing a guy, that's going to be 24 to test out whether he can be a piece for this team going forward. But really, I mean, his floor is kind of what Jay Crowder's ceiling is, and in terms of what we've seen him do. And his ceiling is legitimate third star. I mean, or second star. I mean, yeah. He's been shooting the three a lot better. He can play. He plays excellent defense. He can bully anyone.
He's guard a lot of positions.
Yeah, he's very switchable, which we're kind of trying to play very switchable, positionless basketball with the way with Jenkins, kind of 5-out offense. So you can plug and play him. Seems like a high character guy. He's already tweeting about the Grizzlies. Really excited to come in, really endearing himself to the fan base. He's got Duke national championship friends here, which Jordan Bell, also a college teammate of Dylan Brooks. I think we're really trying to further the culture by bringing people that are legitimate friends here, and that shit matters in the locker room more than a lot of people talk about. The talent doesn't just matter, so I'm excited to see it, and I think it's a really wise decision. The injury stuff does worry me. I mean, you'd like to think that the new staff, they won't make the same like Chandler Parsons-esque mistake where you saw a Mavs team realize, because they had their medicals and had longer looks at them and closer looks at them, realize that Chandler Parsons was ultimately what he was, which is a completely useless player due to injury. And we apparently did not and still paid him. So you hope that's not kind of what happens again. But this is a way lesser.
Yeah, it's like half the contract of that. And so we did your risk to reward ratio is way different in this scenario.
And we didn't give up. We didn't sign Justice to a max. We didn't give up anything. Yeah, we didn't give up anything. We gave up a guy that most people thought we should have waived, right? Like and the I don't even consider taking on these 2 bad contracts bad, because of I don't care about summer 2020. Like, so that's the only reason you would care. Or maybe we could be a dumping spot during the next season. Now we can't. Okay, so whatever. Like, But
And why this is important is because our two best players are on rookie deals. So like we can take on these contracts right now.
right,
That won't be the case in 2-3 years.
right. So you know, I think it was a great day for the Grizzlies, and I mean, I'm excited to see the rest of the season. You know, we didn't lose anything. I think it's going to cause us to lose games. We've seen these guys start Kyle Anderson in place of Solo, and we saw him just beat the Mavs on the road without these guys, and I think there'll be a lot of momentum going forward. And there's a clear direction. What you can say about what's going on, every move that's happened the past year and a half has been like, we can explain it. You know, there's a clear direction, and that's what matters, I think.
Yeah. Now, Zach, I know you this morning when you woke up to the text thread of me and Sam discussing the trade
like a record
all night. You expressed a little skepticism in taking on the money and just kind of the trade with Miami in general. Has that eased, or are you still just kind of not thrilled with the return?
Well, I feel much better, honestly, after the second leg to bring in Deng, because that's something that Memphis has really struggled with, is when Jonas is out, we just like don't have any size. Clark, I mean, think of a matchup with the Lakers where they got Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis. You know, they have big bodies down low that they can throw at us, that they're going to put out there, who are productive big men that Jaren can't guard without getting fouls. That's problem number one, is that when he's guarding big physical guys like that, Andre Drummond, he's going to be committing a lot of fouls, and those guys are just too tall for Brandon Clark. He's not able to guard those guys efficiently yet. Maybe one day he will, but as of right now, he hasn't quite figured that out. And he's undersized to be playing against 7-footers. So bringing in Deng is going to be that was kind of a good move for me. I didn't really want like bringing in Waiters and Johnson. Having both of them on the roster, to me, it would not have been productive. I would have rather had Solo and Crowder, honestly, than those two guys. But the fact we were able to pass along Johnson, and then, you know, we're going to just move Waiters on, I feel much better about that scenario. And like you said, your comment was Winslow, he doesn't have to be great, or this isn't a failed trade if he's not great. And I would agree with that. But if he ends up like not playing because of injury or just being not fitting in, I think it will not be good. But as long as he's healthy, he should find a place to really contribute. And there's not going to be the burden of carrying the team like whatsoever on him, based on how the other 4 starters are already gelling so well. I think he's really a plug and play guy. His defense is really exciting, and just the size that he has, ability to guard multiple positions. The only concern would be his 3-point shooting, which last year he shot 38%. Oh, sorry. 38% the last 2 years. Last year on almost 4 attempts. He's not shooting well this year, but he's only played in 11 games, so that sample size I don't think is big enough to make a statement or anything. But we saw how he locked down Ja at the beginning of the season. So if we need to switch him onto someone, a dominant point guard or even a wing, that can kind of allow Ja to focus more on the offensive end of things and conserve his energy for that, because we know that's his specialty, at least at this point. He's shown where he can be a competent NBA defender, but he's much more exciting. He's a spark plug on offense that keeps everything going for us.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair point. If Winslow is hurt for the next 2 years and we end up having to decline his team option in 21-22, then yeah, that's fair to say it's a failed trade. It'll be interesting to watch the market this summer and use our hindsight to see who gets signed for 10 to 15 million, like money we could have been spending, or even more than that, if one of these teams doesn't want to match an offer. Any more thoughts on the trade with Miami, or maybe thoughts on Andre Iguodala? Y'all got any parting words for him?
I will say that we kind of talked about it, but his sort of parting, like the thing that was shot where he's wearing that like tiny sweater, and like talking in front of one of
At the gym,
and he's behind
the pads behind the goal.
Goal, and he's just and someone recorded it on their iPhone. He's
Mark Spears from ESPN's The Undefeated. He had an ESPN reporter in the gym with him, so he could break the news of this trade.
After he was bragging about having not played basketball since June. Oh, he's in the gym though. Trade deadline day.
Yeah, exactly. And he sort of gives his discussion as if he is, Steve Jobs, Thomas Edison, Andre Iguodala. Yeah, like it's like, dude. It was honestly bizarre and kind of in line with what we've expected of him so far. I honestly don't have anything much to say about it. It's like it really is kind of a masterclass in what happens if you S the media's D's. Like that you have a pack of wolves that are ready to go hunt for you and lay it at your feet. And I mean, good for you, good for him. Like honestly, he can't be faulted for that necessarily. But the insanely hypocritical comments that he would make routinely are the fact that they weren't called out as much because he had the media on his side, kind of just sort of flies in the face of what honest journalism is. And like, what's the point of all this if all you guys are just going to present one side and there's going to be no one out there except for Memphis media, and then we all just appear super biased and pissed,
Yeah.
Like if we say something, then it's because we're mad because we're going to have to like wave him and whatever. So he multiple times, how many times he said that he really likes helping young guys and developing and mentoring, and how he wants to play for a playoff team, and he wants to do all this and that.
To Miami.
I know, dude. He said that today. I mean, like it's like, dude, read your script before you say it, like, and think about what you're doing. I mean, it is. You just didn't want to go to Memphis, and that's not fine with us. But I mean, I guess fine within the confines of these guys' careers. And then one thing that's important too, that that people have pointed out today, but the whole thing was to get that first round Golden State pick. I mean, if we had waived Iguodala, it would still be a win. So even if Winslow fails, it's still a win. But it was worth the shot, a slightly injured Justice Winslow is going to be better than any potential guy we could get next year. So that's just like he's still probably better than. I mean, other than Brandon Ingram, right? The realistic options we can get. I think that even if he doesn't touch a basketball again until we have to decline his team option, the trade was still a win. Maybe the second piece could have worked out better, but I don't know if a second round pick is as good as the flyer on Winslow sitting here in my chair right now.
Yeah, we turned the trade exception into Justice Winslow and 2 bad contracts. Like that's pretty good. I'll take it. And at a time when we can afford bad contracts,
right? And a lottery pick too, man. And what's going to be a high lottery pick, I think, in 2024. I think it's top 3 protected. And they're going to be terrible. You got 35, 36-year-old Steph and Clay. I mean, there's no way that. I mean, they're a smart front office, so we'll see. But I think that pick ultimately becomes part of our trade package to get the third guy. But either way, we still are going to use it.
Yeah. And my thing with Iggy was if you don't want to come here, fine, because they had reached a deal or in some type of agreement, like you stay away and we're going to try to find a trade, and like it's cool. We're not going to make you report or anything. But don't be on TV talking about how you're going to help the Lakers and Clippers or whichever team is fortunate enough to get your services. Like that's just bitch assness. Like, can I tell y'all where my hate from Andre Iguodala really stems from?
Yeah, please.
Please do.
Yeah.
So it goes back to All-Star Weekend in New York City when that was the Mark and Powell All-Star game when they jumped center at Madison Square. I was with a buddy of mine. We were with Ian Clark, and we were at this BET bowling bash, like celebrity bowling bash. Like they had Yo Gotti, Ray J, some older NBA players, some random people were there. Anyways, it's cold as hell in New York at the time. Like when our cab arrived in New York, the cab driver said that it was the coldest it had been since like 1867. He said he just heard it on the news. I'm like, great, perfect. Then our cab driver, as we pull up to the hotel, wrecks into another cab, and the 2 drivers get out and start fighting. So me and my coworker at the time just grabbed our bags and walked into the hotel without paying the fare. Welcome to New York. So we go to this bowling alley, and we had been at all-star activities all day. We would go around with these players and just kind of guide them and just be their assistant for the day, pretty much. Not with Ian. This was a friendship thing. But we had been working all day, and then he invited us to this bowling bash. We're like, hell yeah, we don't want to miss any opportunities while we're here. We're starving. and we find a good spot to be able to see the guys bowling, like right on the side. And Andre Iguodala and his family come and sit in the little VIP section right in front of us. Cool. You get this reserved seat because you're bowling. That's fine. With no issues with that. Then the waitress brings his family platters of food. I'm talking quesadillas, chicken wings, some celery and carrots were looking real tasty at the time. Just a little, just one of those bowling alley platters. Like, what do you want? Here it is.
Shitty chicken tenders, shitty fries.
Bro, they looked at this food and looked at the waitress and said, "You can take that back because we ain't gonna eat none of that." You're like, that's just too cheap. They didn't say that's just too cheap, but that was how
implication.
Yeah, we don't. That's beneath us. And all the time that this is going on, his son is on his PSP playing as the Warriors against the Grizzlies, but he's got it on the lowest level, so he is just boning the Grizzlies. I'm talking it's like 90-20 or something like that, and he is just dunking all over us. So I'm starving. They get this huge platter of food that is beneath them, and they won't touch it. And on top of that, I have to watch little Andre sit there beating the hell out of the Grizzlies on his PSP because he's not man enough to turn the difficulty up to like semi-pro. So that's where my hate for Iggy stems from. Maybe
Hey, I'm out on Iggy too. Like that was the final straw, man. Like your kid's not too good to eat chicken tenders at a bowling alley. That's the way it works. When you go to a bowling alley, you eat shitty chicken tenders, shitty fries, and shitty pizza. Parents drink shitty Bud Light.
They were like, "Is there another menu we can order from or something?" And the waitress was like, "No, this is like this is our
fucking crazy.
Our secret gourmet basketball player menu."
Oh, sorry, the filet mignon's in my asshole. You fucking. All right. So also Iggy, did y'all read that shit about like how his daughter, his baby's mama? He has this daughter who he doesn't really associate with. I don't know if she was there, but he's got a daughter from another random woman. And apparently this girl is like genius intellect. She's got like a ridiculous high IQ, and so the mother wanted Iggy to pay an escalated version of child support that would include like all this like private chefs and like all this sort of tutoring to advance her quickly, and all this sort of stuff. But anyway, in the midst of all this public battle with respect to child support, Iggy was quoted saying that he doesn't want his daughter playing basketball because he'd be afraid she'd become a lesbian. So that tough beat for our guy Iggy, who doesn't necessarily seem as woke as maybe some people out in the Bay Area would like to believe, and that's not what you want when you're speaking of sexual preference in a negative fashion, and also when you're not associating with your daughter at all. That's tough, but no, you a great businessman. He really has just impressed me with his savvy and holding us over the barrel and treating a small market franchise like it doesn't belong in the league that he says he loves.
Yeah, he's like the vice president of the NBPA. I wish Rich was here because I remember when we first traded for Iggy, he was showing off the book. He had just ordered the book. So I wish Rich was here to enlighten us on what type of bullshit is spewed on the 200 pages that Iguodala wrote.
Oh, man.
The sixth man.
Yeah.
The first ever finals MVP to get boned in 6 straight games and we win finals MVP. Like LeBron had 30 a game, 35.
No, dude, he shut LeBron down.
What are we doing here? That's Steph's MVP. Come on.
As Ja would say, yeah.
But and here's the thing: trades don't have to be one winner and one loser. Iggy won. He got to a team that has a chance to win the East. If he's not completely washed up, which he seemed to be last time we saw him playing basketball. And he got 15 more million guaranteed because the NBA's, they're not really focused on tampering these days. And somehow Iggy's agent in the Heat front office negotiated a 2-year extension before the trade is even complete. And Iggy is the one who breaks the news. So if you're wondering where all the stories about Iguodala were coming from, it's from his camp. And he just did a masterful job, honestly, at manipulating the media to.
I mean, frankly, his agent should get a larger percentage commission. He did excellent work.
Yeah.
Excellent work by that agent to finesse all this. And
It should get that $15 million.
fuck yeah. So whatever, it's over and on to greener pastures. And there's not anyone around the league that's not covetous of what we have going on here in Memphis. Everyone talks about it. I mean, and all the beat writers are like, man, what they got going on over there. Like, there's just more kind of eyes on us, like more than there ever has been. So it's finally good to be the sort of the lofted, person instead of the fucking person with egg on our face at every trade deadline.
Yeah. And I guess that kind of leads us into how we think the team's going to be the rest of the season. And here's our depth chart. At point guard, we got Ja and Tyus, solid. Shooting guard, we got Dylan, Melton, Grayson, who
out for the season, according to Coach K.
Out for the season,
yeah.
To Coach K.
Dude, there was some assistant behind Coach K recording him that was going like, "Shut the fuck up!" Like you just violated like an NDA with the Grizzlies.
I don't know. Man. I don't know if anyone yells at Coach K after seeing him get away with yelling at Cameron crazies.
I love that was like the legitimate
old man.
Fantastic old man move. You yell at someone like you said, like you're like great grandfather at the family reunion. But the best part is he was totally wrong. Like he was so mad, but he just didn't even know what he was talking about. Oh, that's good. Okay, depth chart. Small forward. Who we got?
We got Kyle. We got Josh Jackson, who should see some increased playing time with Justice being out until the All-Star break is kind of what reports seem to be. And so we got Kyle, Josh, Justice, and our boy Marco. Then at power forward, we got Jaron, Brandon, Jordan Bell. And at holding down the center, we got Valanciunas and Gorgie Jang. That's a very talented team, I feel like. Do I have my blue suede glasses on? And
it's definitely like a well-rounded roster. There's good depth at each position, and people aren't going to have to play out of position, or you can go one or two people deep and not lose a single thing. And our bench has actually been one of our strong points recently. They blew the Mavericks bench out of the water last night.
Yeah.
Not last night. Yeah, last night on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, that second unit is really good. And I think that adding, these guys is only going to help that. Adding some actual size, because that was an area that we were kind of lacking in. As I mentioned earlier, Clark having to scoot down, or we played solo at the center a lot. And he tried, but that's not something that's just not – he's out of position down there.
Yeah, I mean, it's, have guys that don't suck on your team. And I think we've seriously raised the floor of this team to be in heavy contention to maintain that 8th seed. We look at who's going to chase us. We look at the Trailblazers who have Dame. Mm-hmm. Who's going to record or perform at the All-Star weekend is Dame Dollar, which is going to be pretty awesome. Did you see that? Yeah. That's kind of cool. I like when they let the players kind of go into their own other personal interests, and it's cool to meld the two in a big weekend for everyone. But yeah, Dame's better than anyone we have on our roster right now. We know that. So he can lift the Trailblazers kind of on his shoulders and take them to a level that maybe they shouldn't be at. But their floor is probably lower, if he has a bad game or he gets hurt, because their bench. Who's on the Trailblazers bench right now? I literally couldn't even tell you who. Myers Leonard. Does he start or come out of their bench?
He's not on their team.
He's
on the – they got like Gary Trent Jr., I don't know. But their big thing is they're expecting Nurkic back shortly. But it could also cause them to slip up in some games because they're trying to insert someone who hasn't played all year and coming off a pretty major injury. But I agree. Portland scares me the most.
You get my point, though. Like, we've raised our floor to where we can't – our bench is still going to outscore most benches. Consistently. And, as long as our starters play like we know they generally do with the occasional crazy Ja or Jaren game, or hell, even JV crazy game, I think we're just a consistently 500 team from here on out.
Yeah, I guess the only scary thing for me would be if Justice ends up being out for the season, Grayson's out for the season, and something happens to either Kyle or Josh or DeAnthony Melton. Because you were kind of skim on the wing, but the same thing could have been said about the center position before the deadline. So that's just part of it.
Yeah, and I mean, if two guys get hurt on any team at the same position, then they're going to be hurting. So that's not unique to us. That's just we just really hope it doesn't happen. Yeah, and I've read everywhere I've read, kind of searching Twitter, is that the Heat actually quoted Justice at coming back the beginning of January, is they had 4 to 8 weeks beginning of October They because in September he had this injury. Then he played, but he had this injury already. And then he kind of like was in and out of the lineup, and so they actually they said it was going to take 6 to 8 weeks for him to heal. So he should be playing now. I think they were just holding him out because probably they knew they were going to trade him, and also like they had kind of their rotation going. They didn't want to introduce a guy that wasn't 100%. So I say all this to say a lot of what I've read is that they're thinking he's going to play after All-Star break. But they might not rush him back if we're still winning. And Kyle right now he's 6-0 in the starting lineup. And then in Harrington's article it was said that we're a plus 8.6 or something when Kyle starts in place of Jay. So that's exactly what's going to happen, and we're winning. So at this point, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, and I love giving Josh Jackson this week before the All-Star break to kind of get his feet wet, get his sea legs under him. And so I'm okay with Justice not being rushed back. When he does come back, would y'all want him to start, or would y'all want to keep Kyle in the starting lineup?
I think you brought him on this team to start, so maybe not immediately, maybe a few days, few games, a week or so. But I think ultimately you want him in that starting lineup sooner than later. Yeah,
I'd probably start him immediately once he's ready to play, because that to me says this conservative front office has really deemed him fully healthy. So there's not some kind of minute restriction necessarily, but then I would probably just let him play the first half of the kind of the Zion Williamson sort of treatment initially, but start him just so he is starting and he has run with the starters, and that's just kind of because we know that's where he's going to eventually go. I don't really see an advantage to bringing him off the bench to play with guys he's not going to play with in the long term if he fits in. What do you think?
I don't know.
Come back in slow. I mean, I get the whole Kyle Anderson. If we're winning games with him, he can. But Kyle can play wherever with whoever. That's kind of his. He's a Swiss Army player.
But so can Justice.
Theoretically, yeah.
If we're winning, I would stick with Kyle. I think, and I don't. If Justice turns out to be the sixth man, I don't think that's I don't think we necessarily he has to be a starter if we find someone better down the road. So. I'd be okay with him at the sixth man as well.
Around the league, kind of changing topics a little bit, what was the most interesting trade that you guys saw?
Well, I mean, D'Lo for Wiggins.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of awesome memes about Steve Kerr getting pissed at Wiggins for shooting 20-foot jumpers in practice, and it's fantastic. I really – but though, I mean, honestly – I can see it working out. There's a little bit of Wiggins stock I still have, in the deep recesses of my bank account that I don't talk about, where I keep the weird porn magazines and that. I won't tell anybody about it, but he fits in with certain teams. And if there's one, it's the Warriors, because with Stephen Clay healthy, he has room to operate with his drive, spin, moves to the basket. He's not relied upon to knock down wild threes. He's got a lot of space to operate and can play defense. And a lot of people are talking about once he gets on that team with that pedigree, and all those guys play so fucking hard when they're playing, that he will then soak that in, as opposed to playing with the Eeyore, ho-hum, Karl Anthony Towns, who doesn't seem like the best leader. Even though he's good, he doesn't seem like he's the best. You don't want that guy leading your team, unlike what we've seen Ja do. He doesn't seem like a guy you want to rally behind. So I think it's probably good and exciting. So I'm here for the league fucking switching around,
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it works out. I'm more interested to see how Minnesota does with D'Angelo and Cat.
I'm glad they did that, right? Because that's another good team now. We like it when there's theory they're good, but they needed to do that to keep Cat. They made a move. They needed to do this, and I'm excited that there's just more kind of parity throughout the league.
Who would you rather have going forward if you were not a Grizzlies fan, Ja and Jaren or D'Lo and Cat?
That's impossible for me to. I really don't think it really is because I really don't know.
That's a blasphemous question. I feel like you're just setting us up to.
I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
I don't
have a definitive answer because
I'd be interested to know around the league what the thought is on that.
That's what Twitter polls are for. Ooh.
I think a lot of people would probably say Ja and Jaren, because we know they're already good together and they're only 20. So the theory is that by the time that they're D'Lo and Cat's age, 4 years from now, they will be not only as good but better and contending for finals is what we hope.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't trade Ja and Jaren for them for sure. But I mean, the Timberwolves have had so many chances to be good.
I know
they had
they've
freaking Jimmy Butler.
I know.
And he had them in the 4 seed before he got hurt, and then they finished at the 8 seed.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm off of Carl Towns Island.
Yeah, I don't love him. I think, I mean, he could, I mean, I'd take him. You know, if at some point he was like, "Get me the fuck out of here," and he could be another guy he could play with John Jaren, and that'd be great. But
I mean, I started him at the 5. Don't get me wrong.
yeah. I ain't playing around.
And then Devin Booker is their other boy, and they always talked about playing together. But man, Devin Booker is not going to Minnesota.
No, if he wants to go somewhere, he wants to go to a place where he's guaranteed to win. He's already been wasting away in Phoenix for however long at this point. Why would you go and try that experiment, the exact same thing, somewhere else?
Because he's boys with Cat and D'Lo. They had like a Slam magazine cover where the 3 of them were on it, and they promised they would at some point play together.
Sounds like Zach's going to jump ship at the next opportunity.
Of what?
Of the barn, dude.
Oh.
Yeah, GBB, don't be calling Zach, man.
So yeah, it's I think it might happen, and I think, I mean, I don't know where else Booker goes. What the fuck was up with that Kelly Oubre thing?
No, yeah, the Kelly Oubre nothing.
Yeah,
good question.
Because
that got me pretty excited. That's a guy that is on a lot of people's radars that would fit in immediately, be an awesome addition, I think, to the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies have even thought that before, if you remember, not so long ago.
Yeah, now at least I don't feel stupid because Dylan's turned into nearly as good as Oubre is this year on a winning team. So
it arguably fits our style better.
Arguably the key to why we have been winning games.
Yeah, I mean, what a deal for Dylan. Jeez, we were thinking maybe 15 plus.
Yeah,
when we were discussing it.
Oh yeah, easy. Everyone was like, everyone with their chest pumped out. All of the Twitter GMs were like, I think people are going to be real shocked when they see the Dylan Brooks offer sheet. I'm thinking north of 16, like blah blah blah. And I get it. I was preparing my brain for that too. But I mean, that as we discussed, that deal, which is a pyramid structure, tells me 2 things. One, that he likes to play here in Memphis. He could have got more money, and he knows that. And 2, that he kind of believes in what they're building here, and that wants them to be able to add other pieces and have more money to play around with because he wants to win here. He already said show him what Memphis is about, which if there's anything that we're going to get behind, it's comments like that. I mean, this guy's fucking Canadian, like he could not be less Memphis, but but so, which is great. It's great. I mean, and the Grizz kids are already just like endearing themselves to our hearts, which is fantastic. But any other things around the league that we wanted to point out or that jumped out to us as kind of moving the needle for any of these teams? We did note that most teams didn't really do much. The Clippers added Markieff Morris, which I didn't realize. Marcus, sorry, I didn't realize he was the leading scorer for the Knicks.
Woof.
And he's the 5th best 3-point shooter in the league right now, apparently. I don't know whether that's in terms of percentage or what, but I've heard that. So theoretically, he helps them, but the Lakers didn't do anything. Celtics didn't do anything. The 76ers cut a few guys or waived a few guys, but I'm surprised.
They traded our boy James Ennis.
My boy, going to Orlando, baby.
I didn't even know that happened.
Where magic happens.
Nice.
Didn't even know that, honestly. I literally thought they did nothing. But yeah, what else happened today that we think kind of? I really don't think much changed. The Timberwolves theoretically got better, but they're 13 games behind us. I double checked that today because I was like, "Fuck!" Like, are they going to make a run now too?
So what all moves did the Timberwolves do? Because they were involved in that 4-team deal, and then today. So do you have that pulled up, Zach, or no?
I don't know.
Okay.
I thought the Rockets moving off Clint Capella, I thought was pretty interesting.
Definitely bold, and it's clearly
they're committed.
Yeah,
to the small ball, and they said screw having rim protection.
Yeah, they kind of went away from the pick and roll that they had been doing like 3 years ago. They've been slowly moving away from it. But who's starting at center for them now? I mean, PJ Tucker, but do they have any bigs?
They
I'm
got
trying to think of who they
Bruno.
brought.
Bruno, who's
Yeah.
a wing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've already tried
seen
that
what he
guy.
can do at the 5. Yeah, like
We've
a
already
fish out of water at the 5. So I'm not a fan of them starting PJ Tucker at the 5. I mean, I'm all for innovative basketball, but you're not going to win that way.
Yeah, I think it's clear that we see Daryl Morey. I mean, it's kind of him and the coach. This is kind of their last hurrah. Like, I don't think they renewed D'Antoni's contract, and so they're and we've seen Daryl do this routinely, where he has made these big swing moves to figure it out. Like once Chris Paul didn't work out for 1 year, even though they would have won the title if they won that game 7.
Yeah.
He was that one game away, and that was an injury thing. He was like, well, got to try something else, and went full the other guard way, and got Westbrook. And so he's just, chronically making moves. I mean, the Rockets are always making trades. They're always,
addicted.
yeah, no, it's. I mean, and credit to him, he goes full in on it. I guess there's nothing. He doesn't want it to be a situation where he keeps running it back and keeps losing, and then he gets fired, and he thinks to himself for the rest of his days, like, why didn't I make attempts to do something?
Yeah, I don't think it's unheard of for the Rockets to be like out of the picture in 2 years, like rebuilding, trading. Russ comes off the books, or he's expiring, and they trade him, and Harden wants out because he's tired of the same old stuff, and I could see that happening for sure.
Wait a minute. What could we get Harden in like 2 years?
Would we want that? I don't think we have enough strip clubs.
No, what?
He would not be productive here.
We can't go topless. no topless strip clubs in Tennessee. I think that's a deal breaker for James.
Yeah, I'd rather have a younger guy for sure. But other than Giannis, who's everyone's going to be throwing the kitchen sink at, and he'll get to decide. Like he'll get to, in part decide where he wants to go play. I really don't know where. I don't know where we're getting that guy, like, or who that would be. Who's between the ages of Giannis and John Jaren? What, Bradley Beal is something that you've brought up, Zach. Like, we make a trade for him in 2021. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
I think he could be one of those guys in the future. He
Because
looks
he's
up and
he'll be 28 then.
Yeah, he looks up and he's like, "Oh, Wall's back, but we're still in the exact same situation that we've been in the past. 3, 4, whatever years it is. I should not have signed that deal to stay here long term. That was a bad choice. Someone get me the heck out of here." That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of him as like one of those guys we'll at least be talking about, be in the conversation, because I don't see that getting that much better in Washington.
Yeah, and the great thing about the NBA is the tide can turn so quickly. Like, we've seen Blake Griffin sign a max deal, and they fake retire his jersey in Staples Center, and then they trade him 6 months later. We've seen Russell Westbrook be the face of OKC and team up with Paul George, and then the next thing you know, neither one of them are in OKC. So you never know who can be available 2 years down the road. It could be literally anyone. So it could be Brandon Ingram. Maybe he signs a max deal and things don't work out. Him and Zion end up hating each other.
Anyone's available, because of the way trades work and the player empowerment era. Like, anyone can leave any team anytime because they can force their way out. And so when we create a culture that people want to come to, we can become that nest for them to land. And we're about to have assets. Like,
bro, we got assets. We got 8 first-round picks in the next 6 years.
Yeah. So we are going to trade for somebody, and we just have to make sure it's the right person on a long enough deal. Or hell, I'm even down to do the Kawhi thing. Shouts to our dude Ben Scope, I believe was his name, who said congratulations you're welcome for Justice Winslow. I assume a Heat fan. Thank you, man. We appreciate it. And that honestly is one of the best indicators of how good a player can be, is when the fan base, like we saw with Jonas, literally comes and says, like, yo, we love that guy. Like, we're going to continue to love him even when he goes to the next team. And shouts to you guys for getting him.
Yep, for sure. Take care of Jay and Solo for us, because, this new era of Grizz Next Gen and whatever it evolves into, we really are in depth forever to Jay and Solo for being great leaders for this young team for
Yeah.
the 51 games that they played. They could not have been better veterans for John, Jaron, Brandon to learn from. And a lot of times they produced on the court. Solo did. Jay had his couple big games, and he didn't stop us from winning too many games. Obviously, when we were losing early in the season, it wasn't Jay Crowder's fault. That's when Jaron sucked and Ja wasn't taking over games all the time. So yeah, shout out to Jay and Solo, man. Appreciate y'all. And I think it's safe to say all Memphians will be rooting for them from here on for the rest of their careers.
Sure, if Iggy wasn't on the Heat, I'd be rooting hard for you guys.
Yeah,
I think I still will, honestly. Like, I love the Heat. I love watching them. Yeah, they're one of my favorite teams.
Yeah.
All right, so we covered a lot of trade deadline. Now to one of our favorite segments, Twitter Corner. So I'll start with a little nugget that I found, and shouts to Anthony Sane for tweeting this, but Sportsline, which is a sports betting data site, tweeted out that before all the trades, the Grizzlies, they had a 28.5% projection to make the playoffs. After all the trades, they now sit at 66% according to this one service's data. That's not reflected everywhere. Like 538 still has them pretty low. I don't know if that is updated based on the trades or if they're waiting till tomorrow. A lot of databases haven't refreshed all their information. But I thought that was a crazy jump from 28% to 66%. Basically saying you probably won't get it to 2/3 of a chance you'll hold on to the 8th seed or scoot up to the 7th. I thought that's pretty indicative that at least computers think that what we did today was pretty smart.
I'm with it.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree.
We talked about it. We sent out 2 guys that had been great vets and guys we liked, but who realistically weren't playing super great. And we sent out a 3rd guy who hadn't played it at all, so anything's going to be a net positive over him. And we brought in 3 guys, one of which we waived, who of course is kind of the net nothing in Dion, but the other 2 guys are both better, if healthy. The obvious understanding caveat are both better than both Jay and Salo. So, I mean, we're looking at we objectively got better. I mean, just by personnel, we got younger and a better fit and better players than we had before while giving up nothing. We gave up guys, but you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it stands to reason that mathematically we should be looking better. I mean, I can't fathom we'd get any worse in terms of any of these rankings.
Yeah.
Another quick note, I saw Jonathan Gavoni of Draft Express, who does a lot of mock drafts and scouting. This went a little bit more local. He says that the biggest loser of the trade deadline might end up being none other than James Wiseman, name we haven't talked about too much recently, because 2 of the NBA's 3 worst teams, Cleveland and Atlanta, both traded for starting centers this week, and Clint Capella and Andre Drummond. So those are going to be 2 teams that really suck, have high draft picks that probably are not going to select Wiseman now. And one of the other worst teams, he goes on to say, is going to be Golden State. And, there's no guarantee that they're going to be looking for a center, just, how they've constructed their roster recently. So this could really hurt Wiseman's opportunities to be a top 3 to 5 draft pick, just depending on where all the lottery balls fall and everything. But I thought that was pretty interesting.
I thought that was interesting, but unless Gavoni knows something we don't, which obviously it's his job to, but teams draft based on best available, right? Like the theory is that they don't ever draft on positional fit. So, if you think Wiseman's better than Drummond or better than Capella and a better fit with your young stars, considering he will also be young, then you draft him. You don't say, well, he's a center, I can't draft him. I got to draft the best available wing or whatever. So I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. And then also Golden State is probably going to trade that pick. They're probably going to trade that pick for someone to get back someone that's kind of more in line with the ages that they've got of Wiggins and Steph and Clay. So I don't anticipate them necessarily making that decision. So, but that was interesting. And of course, a name that is relevant to us, but I seriously doubt it is going to affect where he ultimately goes. But maybe.
Yeah, I think he was going to slip either way. So
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't want to say it too loudly, but the Drummond trade. What in the hell?
Why?
Yeah, that don't make no sense.
Why?
That motherfucker is such empty stats, dude. Zach, I can't believe you ever loved this guy. I watched him. I watched the Pistons,
Dude, you know who else loves Omari Sankofa loves him too. So
Yeah, well,
Because he's from Detroit.
he thinks Huey sucks too.
okay, true. Come on, Omari, man. You know.
Yeah, he's gonna come on too. I need to email him, but we're gonna have a Huey's debate at some point. He's been very gracious with accepting that. Drummond, yeah, empty stats guy, literally does so much that doesn't contribute at all to winning. I've never seen anything like it. But I mean, damn, when you look up, you're like, holy shit, he's got like 20 rebounds, and then Zach's at home, like just looking at the stats, like that Wolverine meme with a picture of Drummond.
That was literally 3 years ago.
You literally love him so much. And I don't never heard you talk more about a player as nicely as you do Drummond.
If I stand a player,
so are you gonna buy a Cavs jersey now, a Drummond Cavs jersey? I know Mason's following Josh. I know Mason's following Josh Jackson wherever he goes next.
Hey, let's go. Which right now is in Memphis, man. We made it through the trade deadline, baby. Now we got this opportunity to play and prove ourselves. Let's go.
I love you. It's you and Josh against the world.
But what we've seen him play a couple of games now, and I mean, I'll be the first to admit he hasn't been like blowing me away. He's struggled to get the threes to go down. He freaking airballed like a 5-foot floater last night. So he hasn't performed like he was in the G League, but he's also done some good things. He's shown an ability to rebound, get out and run, be athletic, and he's hit a couple threes. Not a lot that we like. His shot looks flat as hell. Like, dude, what the hell? Fix that. But what's
his shot's really weird. But yeah.
How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean,
because we battled on this.
As you said, and as I have always agreed, he looks the part. Like every time I watch him in Phoenix, I was like, this guy's running around. Like he looks smooth when he has the ball. Like he's always on the break. He's just like never runs out of breath. He's like got cardio for fucking days, man. That guy's running. Like
he never. G League, that's what they do.
Probably, yeah. No doubt. And so, I mean, but even before he was in the G League, he's just an athlete and is long, and he just looks like he should be a perfect starting three, you know? Like, I mean, and he like shoots it when he's open, takes good shots, really, for the most part. And yeah, I mean, he just the tangible stats haven't been there yet. But it seems like he likes the team likes him. They look for him on the break, and they appreciate how he's always out there running and playing good defense, I think. But I would love to see, one thing I just don't know is the advanced metrics on him since he's been back. Like because it looks like he's doing more. It looks like he's a little Kyle-ish, you know, like doing a little more than maybe meets the eye, just pure eye test, which is what, you know, we kind of agree on with Josh. But I don't know. I just haven't looked at that. But what I am glad is that he's getting a shot, because despite how we both felt about him, I have always thought he should get a shot. And so we can see what we have. There's no reason why that shouldn't be the case. So I am glad he's finally getting some PT for sure.
True that. And like Kendrick Perkins, my brother, if I said anything to offend you, I apologize.
Yeah, I love it. He's like, Katie, you a bitch. Oh, my bad, bro. He did.
Zach, general thoughts on Josh before we get back to Twitter Corner.
I ain't got any tweets.
I don't have anything to share. Yeah, I agree. I hope that he continues to progress. I'm very intrigued whenever he's on the court. That's who I'm watching. I'm watching intently, looking for reasons to get excited, pretty much.
Zach, I'm looking up Drummond Cavs jerseys. It doesn't look like they're in the team store yet.
I have to buy those from China. You get them custom from there.
Get that from China. Do you also remember when you loved the Raptors when they were just bums, and then didn't like them the year they won the title?
I mean, I followed them too. The year they won the title is the year I put them on my ESPN alerts. Mason knows that.
Yeah, that's true. I had to get my own account because I didn't want to look at that shit.
Oh, shit. Okay.
In a week in which Twitter was dominated by Woj bombs and some Shams news here and there, even some Mark Stein.
This is like a 90s movie trailer.
There's another account.
In a world where the Twitter was dominating.
There's another account that just stole the whole week from me, and I haven't been able to stop laughing at it. And this was 2 days ago, it was late in the evening, about midnight my time. I had been, doing my thing, drinking some drinks, smoking some cigars, and I had just listened to the mismatch with Chris Vernon and Kevin O'Connor. And in this show, Vernon went on this huge Andre Iguodala rant, like 3 or 4 minutes. And so KOC posted the show on Twitter, and I'm scrolling through the comments because the old producer Isaac Lee, or he might be the current producer, I don't know. But he said he's put a meme of Kermit like yawning and stuff and said, me the whole time Verno's talking about the Iggy situation. And then KOC responded back with the meme of the man like taking a deep breath with the city on fire behind him. What movie is that from?
I don't know.
All right. Well, anyways, and he said he was just laying there with his eyes closed, just waiting for Chris to finish his rant. But the next tweet is what got me, and I see this name pop up, and it's Kevin O. Catch These Riffs. And the text of the tweet is KOC when Verno finishes his rant. And it is this ridiculous video of Kevin O'Connor. Not ridiculous, but the clip is ridiculous. And he's just making this amazing musical face, which Sam informed me is part of being a great musician. You got to make a little ugly face to truly get the great stuff. And KOC is rocking out and making this god awful face. And the tweet got me. I laughed for like a legit 2 minutes before I was even able to send it to y'all. And then I go to the account and like start searching through his other tweets, and he's just replying to literally everything he can on Twitter with the same little clip. And I replied to him, and I was like, man, you get me every time. Sure enough, right on Brandon, he responds back to me with the same clip and says, when I get you every time. And when
that was good.
I lost it at work, I lost it, man. So shout out to @Kevin O. Clapton.
I just looked at him again.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
AKA Kevin O. Make me laugh, man.
Kevin, I made me laugh. You took me through the tail of there. That was good.
I don't think there's ever been anything that I found this funny, like that, because I send things that I think are funny to y'all all the time, and this really gets me, man.
Sometimes something just does, man. Like, and it's always some weird Twitter thing, but like you can't explain it. It just tickles your funny bone in a way that like is really uncommon.
So Kevin O'Clapton, we're trying to up your cred. I see.
Yeah, we need to bring that guy on for sure.
You have 373 followers as of this recording, and let's see where we can get you. I think the sky's the limit with you, man, or woman.
Absolutely ridiculous, man. He responds to everything like, Woj's body is tired. Woj's brain. Goofy meme, Kevin O'Connor.
So the thing about that is like this happened. He recorded that like 6 months ago, because Kevin O'Connor recorded himself playing the guitar solo to a Pink Floyd song. It's at the bridge of one of the Pink Floyd songs. I don't know which one it is off the top of my head, but it in the whole video you see the song chorus come into play, and then he kicks in on the guitar solo and plays the whole thing like straight from the album, and it's like a real soulful solo, hence why guitar playing's all in the face. Yeah. Kind of like basketball. I mean, it's Jordan's tongue sticking out when he dunked. It's kind of like that. Yeah. It's sort of trademark guitar playing. So, but this guy picked the best 5 seconds from the solo where he just like his body, like and soul become one with the guitar, and it looks both like a musical orgasm, and then also like he's reached great truths while it happens. So the video itself is hilarious, and the way that it's used, like the meme format's fantastic. It's very funny. It really fun. I love it because it seems something more I would find funny. Yeah. But it's just really captured you. So that's why I enjoy
it. He did approve of the Grizzlies' moves. He said everyone in Memphis right now, and hit us with
Oh shit, that's good.
Yeah, I'm digging that. But anything else on the Grizzlies' moves or our team in general?
We got 76ers tomorrow night with they're just they're just in disarray, man. Like we just got out. They're a weird. I picked Lakers 76ers at the beginning of the season to meet in the finals because the Sixers should theoretically be better, but man, they're like the Grizzlies, with superstars, but they can't score. They had to play defense. They got no shooting. They seemingly never address it. Like every trade deadline, like everyone's like, dude, you got to get shooters, and they're like, yeah, and then they're like, oh, never mind.
And man,
we just got James Ennis.
Yeah. when you just got James Ennis.
Oh man, but yeah, the Sixers, I expected them to be worse with the loss of JJ Redick and Jimmy Butler, and they have not disappointed. And they're like taking shots at each other. Al Horford's like, yeah, man, we got some problems, but we're gonna keep that shit internal.
Yeah. That was an amazing flex from him. Like,
okay, cool.
Oh man.
The quote from Embiid is going around, him saying like, well, everyone's telling me to post up more, but I got to be out at the 3-point line because fucking Ben can't shoot for shit. We ain't got no spacing. I can shoot better than my guard, so I have to stand out there while we watch him do the work of a power forward. So, yeah, Philly, man. And Boston, too. They won't pull the trigger on a trade, man. And last year, I think it was the Brooklyn pick they had that just depreciated in value as the season went on because Brooklyn made the playoffs. This year, our pick, which they no doubt thought once had an opportunity to be like a top 2 or 3 pick.
No doubt.
Like reasonably so. And we have outperformed expectations. And now their pick is in jeopardy of being a late first rounder, or, at least not in the lottery, late team. So I think we can
in a bad draft,
which maybe it's better to have a low pick in a bad draft, but
I think it is.
That's neither here nor there. But I think this can be a message to young King Kleiman that don't hold on to those draft picks, brother. When you got the chance, you trade them sons of bitches before they depreciate in value.
Yeah, I mean, now that we've got them, which is the hard part, fucking trade them. Like, let's go get a guy, like let's go get a known commodity instead of like rolling your dice for these kids, which we've seen are impossible to predict, how good they're going to be. Like, it just really is. Like, it's very hard. It's a really tough game to play. So I'm all for that. Like, I'm all for making like big ball busting trades, like, because we've seen it pays off, and you got 2 guys that are, and not only that, but it signals to these guys that we're trying to, make sure you guys win. Mm-hmm. So in a situation where if we brought in like a Giannis or like a Bradley Beal and they only stayed for 1 or 2 years, but we made a big run, like, and then they check out, it's like, okay, we lost a couple first rounders and whatever, but maybe John Jaren stick around for another extension and then we run it back for another guy. Like, yeah, that shit matters. So it seems to be that they're setting themselves up. Weird thought though. How do we feel about Ben Simmons fit on this team, the Grizzlies? Because at some point the Sixers are going to break up Embiid and Ben. And Ben, them singularly, I think they're all NBA talents, like singularly. Yeah. But so I was trying. I don't think I want Embiid really with John Jaren. Although, like,
I mean, I would take both of them. I would take either one.
But I was for some reason thinking about like Ben playing kind of the weird power forward ball handler. He can't shoot, but Jaren can shoot like lights out.
Yeah,
so
I don't mind that. I like the idea of that.
So that's someone else that's kind of between the ages of that's that age range we're looking at.
Yeah, and they were supposed to be the next big thing, and now they could be breaking up this summer.
Yeah.
It changes quickly, and that's why it's important to surround your guys with talent and a roster that makes sense.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for guys like that and make a trade for Ben Simmons. At some point next season, even like that might be something I'm looking at if the Wizards aren't going to budge off Beal. But we could very realistically be entering the 2021 season with a team that can make the finals. And I don't say that like we were talking about that being best case scenario at the beginning of this rebuild, but our rebuild has lasted 16 months, dude. Like it is insane how fast we did it. Like we should be thanking our fucking lucky stars every night we go to bed. And I do. Like I
lucky ping pong balls.
Yeah, whatever you're prayed or whatever, but like dude, it is unbelievable what they've been able to do and how much positivity there is to take from what we got going on right now. It's just amazing stuff. It nearly brings a tear to my eye, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I mean, under contract for next season, we got Ja and Tyus, we got Dylan, Grayson, Marco, Justice, Jaron, Brandon Clark, and then we got JV and Gorgie Jang down low. Like we already got
You
12.
have your team set
Yeah.
already. You don't have to go looking for anything for next season. You can kind of sit back and wait for a great opportunity to come to you. You don't have to pursue something to put together a competitive team. You already have that.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll get naturally better because everyone will be a year older. Like that, no one will get worse except for arguably Gorgie because he's 30 now or something, right?
Yeah.
Like, so everyone's getting better into their prime, and so getting another year of the NBA under their belt, and I think John and Jaron are gonna like get better in dog years. I mean, we've seen Jaron even take a huge leap this year, the leap that about as good a leap as you could have expected. So
Yeah, I like that. I like
Yeah.
that a lot. And yeah, and that's not including DeAnthony Melton, who we will be able to retain, operating under the line, bring in our own free agent, and then Josh Jackson. We could realistically bring him back too.
can
If
we
they-
re-sign him if we re-sign Melton?
in something I was reading, they said we could re-sign both. We will have enough room to operate with our exceptions and things like that we will be able to re-sign both. I mean, Josh isn't going to command it. He's going to be cheaper
Yeah.
than this year. So
Yeah, I would definitely do that. I'd sign him for like 420 or something with a team option or
yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
we'll see how he does this year. But if he fits in, I think in theory he fits in, and if that works out, then he's someone you'd want to bring back because he fills the wing position, which is a position of need.
and he could just soak up minutes. I mean, like even if he ends up being buried in the rotation, it's like he can give you quality minutes for the cheap.
I love it when he gets an outlet pass and attacks on the break. Like he tries to go through three people, but he attacks the rim. Like he gets right to the front of the rim. It's like Kyle, except Kyle hits you with the Euro step right before.
And then slows down. He does like the Harden where he like everyone's like crashing into the stanchion when he's like just laying it in.
Like going backwards.
Yeah, it's bizarre. But yeah, it's really exciting stuff. And I'm always telling people like, dude, our two best players are 20 years old. Like that's insane.
Yeah, they don't carry themselves like 20-year-olds is the thing.
20 years old, on a 26 and 25 team, like that is insane. I don't know if that's ever happened. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, but we can't go reverse. We have to, like, unlike the 76ers, they kind of like burst on the scene and then have gotten worse every season, even though they've really kind of made crazy moves, but just idiotic moves. Like we don't need like getting Tobias Harris and letting Jimmy Butler leave, and it's bizarre, really. But
Yeah, and it's funny how we remember history because they were a Kawhi Leonard shot away from going to the finals, the Eastern Conference Finals or whatever it was.
yeah,
And then that Rockets team, like they could be blown up, but they were literally one game away and a Chris Paul hamstring from winning a world championship. So it's the breaks of the game.
yeah, man, it is. You just got to put yourself in the position to where you don't look back on it and think like, what if? You just win the game.
Yeah, and then maybe if you're a team like Philly right now, you don't give up on your core which I'm trying to take things that are happening now and apply them to Memphis in the future.
As you should. I mean,
Maybe Philly doesn't give up on the core because they saw the Rockets gave up on what they had, and then they end up blowing their team up a year later. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows that those two guys, the Embiid and the Simmons thing, just won't work. And so, but because they're both so good individually, it looks like it works. But it really doesn't. Like they're actually just taking each other down a peg, when they probably shouldn't. So that's we'll see what happens. But I'm gonna be like keeping my eye on all these different teams and I mean like what we know now and what is kind of cool is that one avenue is closed, which is kind of the beginning of Harrington's piece, which is that we know we're not going to get the third guy in the draft. Like that avenue is now closed. Like we are now good and we are only going to get better. And so this year had to be that year where we're going to add another high draft pick and we're too good. And so we're going to convey the pick. And then from now on, our picks will theoretically be a playoff team. Because if we make the playoffs this year, I mean, I'm not crazy to think like we are now a perennial playoff team, right? Like, I mean, in theory, we get better every year, barring the occasional injury. God forbid something happens, like to Oklahoma City kind of the situation. But I think we're not having good picks going forward. We have to get this guy via trade, like a Justice Winslow sort of deal, or like a big bombastic, expiring superstar that is going to leave anyway. We hope that we can convince to stay. So we said it a million ways, but we haven't really had a chance to chop wood on all this.
Yeah, and one interesting thing is like in 2 years, the West is going to be, in theory, loaded again. Like if it's the end of the Warriors, potentially like the last leg of the Rockets, but the Kings might get good at some point. Like they have talent.
Yeah, they're weird.
You would think that they'd be where we are now. You would think that they'd be in our shoes, honestly.
Right. That's the scary thing is what happened to the Kings, right? Like is that they regressed.
Yeah, but
Bogdanovich.
I think Taylor Jenkins has appeared to be better than Luke Walton already. Like,
Yeah.
So you're not in on Jenkins. Are you in on Jenkins yet, or are you still like?
I'm definitely. Yeah.
You said appeared, so I wasn't sure if that was meant that you were like.
No, I just meant it's hard to judge a first-year guy compared to a 4-year guy or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's hard. Maybe it's just the players. Maybe it's not Jenkins. But he's by all accounts, Jenkins has been great. Coach of the month, man. January.
Yeah.
Ja, 3-time rookie of the month. But yeah, like the West is going to be the Pelicans should be really good for a long time. If not, then they colossally fuck that up.
Yeah.
Dallas has Luka and KP.
Thunder
have talent and more assets than us. Like one of the few teams probably that has more.
So do the Pellies.
The Pels do. Oh yeah.
Yeah, from the Lakers.
Yeah.
So they're going to be the thing about the Thunder and the Pellies are going to be making the same offers to the same guys that we are probably, and we have to be able to, have a team that people want to come to more than those teams, which means we have to beat Brandon Ingram and Zion, and then Shea Gilgeous and whoever they ultimately get to pair with him. And then fucking Luka and KP, which KP looked like every bit the thing that Luka needs when he played us the other night. I mean, he was fucking sick
until Josh broke his nose, man. See what I'm talking about? It's the little things.
Yeah, exactly. The intangibles, the nose breakings.
doesn't show up in the stat sheet.
Those advanced stats, man. Broken noses, 1. But of those cities, Dallas probably has the edge to a superstar level because we went to Dallas, man. We had a blast. That's a fun city.
Yeah, Dallas is cool, and then Luka at this point, looks like an MVP. So neither Jaren or Ja are there, but who's to say they couldn't? At this point, as we sit here now, I still don't know who I think is going to end up being better. I know we always talk about Jaren having higher ceiling, and Ja kind of being just the more immediate impact leader, more flashy guy. But I don't know, man. Like are we looking? I think we're looking at them both being all-star, like perennial Western Conference all-stars, right? Is that?
Yeah,
that's kind of the expectation now, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cool with co-captains at this point. Ja has shown to be.
He's got the leader. He's got the leader dog in him for sure.
Yeah. He's the alpha, but Jaren, when he gets going, his skill set is. Ja, you can throw a bigger guy on him and slow him down a little bit.
That's the thing. Every team that's ever had since the Isaiah Thomas Pistons, every team that's best player has been a point guard. You just can't do it with that. You got to have a wing or a wing, really. Or in this league, everyone's kind of a wing, from the 3 to the 5. But you can't. That's why Kemba. People are worried about Kemba not ever being able to get it done because, like you said, you could throw like a Justice Winslow, that shuts him down the whole, makes everything.
Tie it all in, Sam.
But yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's tough to win that way. We need Jaren to be what he can be in order to like take this team to the heights.
Yeah, I mean, Steph and Clay did it, but they are literally the best shooting backcourt ever. So
2 of the best 3 shooters of all time.
Yeah,
I have Reggie in there, I guess. I guess, but I think it might be Clay, Steph, and Reggie. Like so.
Ray Allen, but yeah, I mean those 2 guys.
Yeah, Ray Allen probably hit some bigger shots than Reggie, but
no one in our generation will argue against those 2 guys for a long, long time. I don't think.
Yeah, it's cool we got to see it too, but shit. All right, Zach's probably ready to go to bed because he hasn't said anything.
It's only 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. Well, I was watching a little bit of this Rockets Lakers game. Anthony Davis went out with it looks like it hurt his hand, so that ain't good.
Hey, Lakers and Clippers could both be bottom dwellers again in 2 years.
Yeah, with no assets either. Like
Yeah.
so a couple guys I saw that
Completely
are
assed out. Like,
nothing. So I saw the Clippers guys become unrestricted free agents in summer of 2021 with Paul George and Kawhi. So there's Anthony Davis is a free agent or has a player option. So there's a lot of guys out there that summer in addition to the guys with 2 years left on their deal. It'll be an exciting time to see what we do. But
and teams want to trade those guys because they don't want to lose them for nothing.
Exactly. So it's not a question of getting them. It's a question we have to be able to put together the best package, and they can't blow it up. They have to want to go because now he's seen they could say I'm not going to play there if you trade me to Memphis, but I'll play in New Orleans or play in Dallas. So we need to be desirable as well.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen a case yet. You think of Anthony Davis last year, where a superstar has said he's only going to re-sign in these two markets, and then them be traded elsewhere. Can y'all think of a case like that? Because it'd be interesting to see what happens if a superstar is traded to Memphis with John Jaren and we win a championship.
Kawhi?
Yeah. You're right.
Was he trying to?
He didn't say I won't play
Yeah.
Toronto.
He just didn't re-sign. I don't think he was trying to block a trade anywhere.
He didn't say that. People were worried about him doing that though. Like he said he wasn't going to. Initially, the question was whether he was going to report to training camp. Remember that? When he was traded, and people were like, "Is he going to show up to Raptors training camp?" And when the day he showed up and gave the the meme thing, it was everyone was legitimately glad that he showed up. So that was a big deal. He didn't come out and say, "If you trade me to the Raptors, I won't go play there." That's what you're saying. You're saying if we get a true Iguodala situation where he says, "I will play for these teams if you trade me to them." But if you trade me to here and here, even though those teams can give you the best assets, I'm not going to suit up. I'm not going to show up.
Yeah.
And
maybe Stephon Marbury did that back in the day. I want to say.
I don't know. I'd be guessing.
But Kawhi would have been the one to do it because he sat out in San Antonio. No one does that. He already did the unthinkable. So
right.
I think he would have been the one to do it. And it wouldn't be surprising to see in the next negotiations between the NBPA and the NBA to find some way to eliminate that or penalize the player, eliminate their contract and make them not be eligible for free agency for 2 seasons or something like that if you don't show up. If it's as simple as, no, I'm just not going to play there because I'm above playing in a shitty market.
Yeah, I mean, because once you start letting that happen more and more, I think it's a very slippery slope, as I said. That's where it gets worrisome, That's where, what are we even doing here? Why does anyone sign anything? And why
just have a 4-team league?
Yeah, why are we even have Memphis and New Orleans and let's just have the 2 LA teams and the Celtics and the Knicks. Great. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the players are wanting to play in the big markets and look out for themselves. And the NBA is a business, and they are trying to. They might not fight against that as hard because they're we slick want the superstars in the big markets.
No, for sure.
We're not going to fight for this new rule or whatever.
I will never question the draft again that Ja ended up with us instead of New York, and something that they've talked about.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So something that all the national pundits like the Russillos and the Simmons have talked about is they've said no disrespect to Memphis fans, but if Ja was doing what he's doing in Memphis in the Garden, the fucking world would be lighting itself on fire right now. The dunks he has, the moves he has, if he was doing it in MSG, it would be unbelievable how high New York would be. I'm talking about they'd already have think about Lynn Sanity, dude. That was a middling guard who had a couple of good games. Ja's doing this at 20, future, all-star, could have been one this year. And so the point being that they have 8 to 9 times the fandom. Just look at their social media accounts, literally 8 to 9 times the following that we do. Thus 8 to 9 times the revenue for the NBA. I mean, just automatically there. So that's one of those things where it does suck, and we're actively working uphill for sure.
I've convinced myself that the NBA wants the Knicks to be bad because they continue to make money hand over fist. They're the most profitable team in the NBA, and they haven't been relevant in 20 years. But they're relevant every day. So like they're like, okay, New York's gonna make this money no matter what. So let's just let's do our best to keep players away from them. We're gonna let Dolan run them into the ground. Like
that's my weird pitch there. Like is like, well, hey, Lakers, and we saw Lakers make shit ton of money too, and they were in those down years. Like and Golden State just got all that Bay Area money. Like they got a waiting list for season ticket holders. Celtics, same thing, waiting list, season ticket holders. Like really, we should keep our stars in the markets that need stars to make money. And then, I mean, why are you going to? That's out misallocating resources if you're putting them in places that don't need them. So so that's maybe a too logical take and one that's heavily colored through small market glasses. But yeah, I think it's something to kind of follow, and 2021 is the next CBA negotiation, so we will see.
That's coming up real soon.
Yeah,
that could change everything that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, and I mean, it's something the rest and all these other sort of NBA issues that people have talked about for the past 5 or 6 years since as of late. So we'll see what they do, but exciting times in the NBA coming ahead, particularly for Grizz fans.
No doubt. Thanks for listening to the Backdoor Cut show on wherever you're listening right now. Apple Podcasts, if you don't mind giving us a 5-star review, leave us some feedback. Follow us on Twitter at Backdoor Cut Show. Hit us up at the-barnburner.com where you can find this, other good podcasts, articles, a lot of content over there. And thanks for listening. Until next time, go Grizzlies.